Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy TJ Pedro, and this is my podcast, TJ's Podcast. This is where I'm going to be breaking down everything in Major League Baseball. Probably going to talk a lot about the Yankees, but I got to be fair to everyone out there. And, of course, the wild card games have just ended. Tampa Bay just won a moment ago. So I'm going to be breaking down both those games and the series coming up. So without further ado, let's just get right into it. So first I'm going to be talking about the game that just ended. Tampa Bay defeated Oakland 5-1. Now, Oakland, their reason for losing was players left on base, as they left a total of 20 base runners on base. They had more hits than the Rays, but only had one run to show for it. The Rays, on the other hand, their saving grace for winning the game is Yandy Diaz, as in his first two at-bats, got the same exact pitch and hit it into the same exact spot in outside the park as a home run. He went 3 for 4. And again, just to compare to them, they only left 8 runners on base. Just a little tidbit. Other contributors for them were Tommy Pham. He had a homer. Let's see. Avisail Garcia had the 2-run homer, and that was the scoring for the game. On the athletic side, you had a sac fly. You had a sac fly by Ramon Laureano. So, all in all, great game. Great job by the Rays. Have a meeting with the Houston Astros now. And boy, is that going to be a tough series. But hey, crazier things have happened, right? I'm predicting a 3-0 Houston moves on. But again, there's no familiarity there. Maybe the Rays can take advantage of that. Who knows? Charlie Morton will probably be in if there's like a game 3-ish after pitching tonight, which he was not perfect by any means tonight. The only pitcher for the Rays that was actually good was Diego Castillo, 2 scoreless innings. But in the first inning, Oakland had bases loaded, 2 outs, and he got out of it. And that seemed like the story every single time he was on the mound. He had runners on either first and second, 1 out. Runner on second, no outs. It just seemed like he always got out of it. So that was basically the reason they won this game, was because the A's had opportunities and didn't capitalize. The Rays jumped on Manaea early. So Tampa Bay is moving on to face the Houston Astros. That series, I don't predict it's going to be interesting. But we never know. But the next series, oh man. Washington has beaten the Milwaukee Brewers yesterday on the back of Juan Soto, who hit a bases clearing 3-run single to win them that game. I don't know if it was a single or a double. I think it was a double. But man, does that... The right fielder for Milwaukee must have some thoughts going in his head right now. because the only reason they got 3 runs on that was because he misplayed the ball. Ball went behind him. He had to chase it down. 3 runs were given up. And that gave Washington a 4-3 lead as Milwaukee blew a 3-1 lead. Interesting. And as I told you, it was on the back of Juan Soto, who got credited with 2 RBIs there. Probably because of that error, it was listed as 3. Who knows? Josh Hader, feel really bad for him. That shouldn't have been. That wasn't his fault that it was his fault they gave up 2. He gave up the tie. But it's hard to say it, but that right fielder is the reason why this game went to Washington. As early on, the memes were pouring in on Instagram about the Nationals choking again. And it's crazy. Baseball's crazy. And the Milwaukee-Washington game proved that entirely. One swing of the bat, one pitch can change the whole complexion of the game. And that is why A-Rod and others were tight that Tampa Bay in the bottom of the 9th had the champagne in their locker room already. Because 4 runs, that's one swing of the bat. So why celebrate right now? I'm impartial about it. Don't really care. But some people were a little tight about that. Just wanted to throw that out there. So now I'm going to go into the series that are coming up. First off with my Yankees going up against the Minnesota Twins on Friday. Man, I'm feeling good. But the Twins are not a team to be taken lightly. Nelson Cruz, Eddie Rosario, etc. That team is good. But to me, it's a carbon copy of the Yankees, just a little worse. They have 2 starters instead of 3. They have power hitters, but none as good as Judge, Stanton, etc. They also don't have that contact player that we have with LeMahieu. And so, I'm feeling okay about this series. I don't think we're going to give them a sweep, but winning this in 4 doesn't seem too outside the realm of possibility. Also, with the Yankees being home for this series helps. So, we'll see what happens. I take the Yankees against the Twins. For the other series, like I said before, Houston, Tampa Bay. Houston got that series. I'm sorry. You can't beat the 3 starters they have. And they're going to have all 3 since they didn't have to play a wild card game. They're going to have Verlander for game 1 probably. They're going to have, it's going to be a competition between Verlander and Cole for game 1. And then the other one's going to get game 2. And then Greinke is going to get game 3. How do you beat that? And that is why I am afraid if the Yankees move on, that they're not going to be able to get through that pitching wall. But I think the Yankees have a much better chance with their hitters than Tampa Bay does. Because again, Yandy Diaz had 2 home runs, but that was the first time he's gotten a hit since July 22nd. July 22nd. It is October, and that is the first time he's gotten a hit. Yes, he went 3 for 4. Maybe he's out of his slump. We never know, but I just don't see the Rays with 1 starter and not that deadly of a lineup. That lineup is good. Don't get me wrong. Austin Meadows, Yandy Diaz. He's not that great. Why did I just say Yandy Diaz? He had a good game. You have some dogs on that team. You have Kevin Kiermaier for the field. I mean, there's some dogs on that team. But against Houston, you're going to need more than just a few dogs. You're going to need a squad. And I don't think the Rays have a squad for that series. I'll take Houston for that series. Now where it gets interesting. Because even though I feel it's an inferior league, it's going to be interesting watching these series unfold. First series I'm going to cover is the Cardinals and the Braves, as I think the NL is inferior to the AL, but it's going to be more interesting because I feel like all series are going to be more competitive. Cardinals and Braves is interesting. I don't agree with who the Cardinals have starting that game. Miles Mikolas. They should probably have Jack Flaherty start game 1. I can see what they're trying to do. They're trying to push him back. But if he starts game 1, that means he'd be able to start game 5 if it had to go there. So I don't get that decision there. The Braves have Keuchel going. And with it being in Atlanta, I think Atlanta just has the better team built around it. Albies, Freeman, Acuna. They've got a squad over there. They got, like I said with them, they got dogs, but they got more dogs than the Rays. And I think it's going to be too much for the Cardinals to overcome. Paul Goldschmidt has the home runs, but hasn't been the Goldschmidt of Arizona. Marcell Ozuna is a dog. He's going to show out in this series. But the Braves have more. So I'm taking the Braves to go to the NLCS. And here is where the series that I'm looking at the most, other than the Yankee series, because I'm a Yankee fan, the one I'm keeping an eye on is Nationals-Dodgers. This series will be interesting, as you got two teams with great lineups, pitching staffs the Nationals have 3 starters, the Dodgers have some starters, so it's hard to say that it's going to be low scoring, but I mean, it depends. It depends on... Game 1 is going to be a very big tone setter. Because whatever happens Game 1, I think is going to be the entire series. If Buehler gets lit up and Corbin doesn't have his greatest outing, it's probably going to sway to be a high-scoring series. Game 1 is going to be huge for setting the tone this series. But surprisingly enough, I might want to take the Nationals this series. They just clutched out a huge win against Milwaukee. They're riding that high. And they've got a squad. Yes, the Dodgers have Bellinger. Yes, they have Turner. They've got a pitching staff. Kenley Jansen hasn't been the Kenley Jansen of the past, but he's still pretty productive for them. And so this series, I think it's going to go to the Nationals. The Nationals just have a lot. They're proving a lot that they really didn't need Harper. I knew they never needed Harper, but a lot of people wrote them off after they lost Harper. They made it here. They made it to the divisional series. I say it's going to be a Braves-Nationals NLCS. Now we'll see how those picks work out. But I'm really interested now, getting over predictions, to see what the Yankees postseason roster is like. Because they had September call-ups. They had a few guys show out. But right now they have to cut it to 25. And there are some rumblings around the Yankee circle that Gio Urshela might not make the roster. I think it's crazy. But a lot of people seem to think that Luke Voit has to be on the roster more than Gio Urshela. To me, that's ridiculous. Luke Voit, although he has been unlucky, won for his last 28. And we have a first baseman. We have Edwin. I think if you're going to leave anyone off, if it's Gio or Luke Voit, right now you got to give Luke Voit the boot for this series. Cashman wants a lot of power, but Gio Urshela has been the best third baseman for this team. Yes, DJ LeMahieu has played there, but again, he's more he excels more at the second base position. Doesn't have the arm Urshela has. So Urshela, I feel like, is more of a commodity to this team than Luke Voit. And also, where's the GOAT going? Is Mike Ford going to make the roster? I predicted that he is not going to make the roster. Just there's a lot of talent for this team. And I don't think they should they have enough room to fit the GOAT, but I really wish they did, because like I said, Mike Ford is the GOAT. But now there's one player for the bullpen that I despise right now, and I don't want him to play. And that is Cody Guerin. I hope I got the name right. But he has proven nothing in a Yankees uniform. And there is no reason for him to be on that roster for the DS. It's just, the guy has blown so many games in his short time being here. It's gotten to the point where it's ridiculous. So you got to make a decision. Are you going to, because there are some injuries in the bullpen, are you going to just throw him in there to give an extra arm? Or are you going to make a statement? You're going to leave him off. Because you did pick him up late in the season. Try to see what he has. To me, he's shown nothing. Just leave him off the roster. But I'm scared they're going to put him on because he was in the bullpen late. And he seems like he's good. He seems like he'd be a middle of the pack mid reliever. But I don't want him. Keep him out of pinstripes for the postseason. I can't have him blow any playoff games now. Like, we were able to deal with him blowing some games late because we had the division locked up. We knew we were going to be in this situation right here where we were waiting for the divisional game. Would have been nice to have home field advantage throughout the postseason. Few losses down the road. Now we have the third best record. So we're not going to have home field advantage for the CS. Or if we make it through the CS. If we make it to the CS. Not only are we not going to have it for the CS. We're not going to have it for the World Series if we get there. So a few games down the stretch could have been nice to have. But now is where you got to buckle down. And one guy you cannot have if you're trying to buckle down and win this World Series for the chase for 28 is Guerin. Get him out of this bullpen. Well, that's enough of my rant. What did you guys think of this podcast? Let me know. I'm going to have guests on sooner rather than later. So hopefully this will be more entertaining later on. But if you liked it, hit a like down below. If you're new here, hit that sub button. I'm going to be starting posting this a lot, so you don't want to miss it, probably once a week. So hit that sub button and press the notifications, click all, and yeah, that's it for me. I'm out of here. Peace.